I resign. But we still got a show to do. A lot of people gonna be mad after this episode of Game of Thrones, so now's the perfect time to bring some happiness back in their life with a shirt from dtmerch.com. Who can stay angry with that classic black tee with that white logo right there? How can you be mad with all this color in your life once you have this fluorescent logo right there, the neon just shining? Some of y'all done messed up and named your kid Khaleesi, but they won't look like a murderous little queen when they're wearing that adorable shirt, that baby tee from dtmerch.com. Some of y'all are crying out here. Whining this episode made y'all so mad. Collect the tears in that coffee cup. Drink them back down. And want to complain? Well, call to your friends, complain with that phone right there with the phone cover. And how can anybody stay angry with the gift of choice? Something you didn't have with this episode right here, even though you've been demanding that it be shot over. Of course, we're talking about season 8 finale, which would be the 6th episode of Game of Thrones of season 8. This is the one where a lot of people said, listen, I've been happy with the way things have been going. Yeah, sure, it's not like it used to be, but I mean, did you really expect it to go that way? I'm fine with the way things are going. And some people said, hey, look, man, there's just too much stuff that they got to cover. And there's too many things they have to wrap up. Prophecies, story arcs, subplots, romances, missing dogs, all kinds of things that have been going on. And they said, I just don't know how they're going to accomplish all that in one last episode. Now, this, of course, is the episode where we see that Daenerys has done what a lot of people predicted her to exactly do, and that is, no matter how much people tried to reason with her, no matter how much people pleaded with her, no matter how much she tried to reach into her humanity, she went ahead and said, I'm going to burn this mother down. I don't care. People, hey, you know what? There's only one way these hard-headed people going to learn, is that, and that's only if I just destroy the people before them.
Just a barbecue time.
Yeah. If she says somebody's going to write the greatest cookbook ever made about me. I don't think people have a problem with the way things played out. I'm sorry, with the conclusion of some things. I think they have a problem with the execution, with the way things played out. Before we go into it, I just want to set up everything because, you know, I'm as moderator here, I'm trying to set up certain themes, certain questions, and I just want to first go in and say my opinion on what this is. Now, this had a lot riding on it. This is probably, it's funny to say this about a show with dragons and fantasy and magic, but for a lot of people, this fantasy show was the replacement for another big cultural phenomena, and that is Breaking Bad. And everybody wanted this to end like Breaking Bad. Everybody wanted this to be the ending that almost, you know, it's never going to be unanimous, but people are going to come in. This will be the one that, for the most part, the majority of people will say, all right, that is a great episode. They didn't lost it. They didn't Dexter it. You know, they actually went in and did what they were supposed to do. And that is give a satisfying conclusion to many years of storytelling and characters that we've grown close to. Now, I will say this, and this is before I pass it on. For me, no. If you couldn't tell by my opening statement there, they did not do that at all. That is not to say that there weren't some brilliant things in this episode, which for me made it more frustrating. I'll go around and see what you guys think. I thought that the way that this opened up, here's the thing about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is still quality as far as production. Game of Thrones is still quality as far as some of the sweeping storytelling that they're trying to do. Maybe they don't always achieve that. And with this episode, they did some really brilliant things with telling the story just through shots, just through quiet moments. I thought it was great the way it opened up, and Tyrion is just looking at the destruction. Tyrion's looking at the destruction. He's seeing everything that the aftermath of what he feared would happen. And that had everything. This had people with you saw people with PTSD. That's probably the worst thing, is that you saw survivors. Like, the dead are dumb, but this dude didn't even have no flesh on his back when he turned around. Of course, Game of Thrones, one of the things that they do, they are not afraid to cook children on here, especially little girls, and they're not afraid to show you that. And that is what we saw right here. The ashy remains. I hate to say ashy because I sound like they just need some lotion. The ashy remains of children. And Tyrion is just looking at this, and there's quiet moments where he has so much disgust that whatever he's doing right now, I thought it was great. It's not even bravery. It's just that I cannot live with this. It doesn't matter what happens to me at this moment. I thought that was brilliant, which makes this episode far more frustrating, but I'll explain that in a little while.
As someone who did not find season 8 favorable, who also now thinks this show's legacy is absolutely tarnished, I still think season 8 is still better than a lot of TV shows out there currently, without a question. And with that said, you're right. There's things I liked in this episode, but overall, and what they did with story narrative arcs and how they kind of ended those questions, it fell flat for me.
Cinematically, they did everything that I expected them to do in Game of Thrones. But it was wasted on something that I think was rushed. This is epic storytelling with not only a television script, with a TV sitcom script.
Look, here's the thing, man. I enjoyed this episode, but it was because it was like like when you make a really bad meal and you're like, I just got to dress this shit up and make it look as best as I can. Like, the visual language was awesome. The directing was really great. The acting, like everyone already said, was good. I actually really enjoyed the first 20 or so minutes of this because it felt like there were stakes again. Even though she became that was like a Star Wars, like he was Senator Palpatine to the Emperor in one shot. When she just walks out of there.
Man,
looking
you took it right out of my mouth. I was like, this seems so bad. Why the hell she dressed up like Kylo Ren? Walking out of here,
man. She's got the entire Star Wars evil Nazi space thing going on. And I'm like, all right, I guess that's a quick jump, because she just took the city, but. Look, overall, it just felt like a greatest hits. Like, we have all these people in a room together, so let's just have a couple jokes. Let's make a call back to something we said before, and that's your finale. It felt like you said, like a sitcom, like The Office or Cheers or any of the great comedy finales. That's exactly what it felt like.
I had to admit something. I read the leaks, and they were spot on with everything. And I spoiled it for her. She didn't mind. And her and I went back and forth on why that probably would work and why it wouldn't. We're not going to get into that right now. But since we're talking about some of the good things in the episode, how did it make the rest of the episode for you?
Until the middle of the episode, I was watching and I was rushing inside. Like, I was thinking, like, there are so many things that you need to do, and then you're just walking around looking at things like you got to do a lot of shit. And then later on in the middle of it, I saw like, oh, okay, you're just gonna do it like this. Okay, okay, all right. It's just like felt like, all right, okay.
Yeah,
you're just gonna deal with it, just real quick. Okay.
Well, there were also some moments here that I thought were. When they actually got to some of the parts where there were dialogue exchanged, parts where characters were interacting with each other, I thought that there was some really great moments with that. For one, I thought when they had the moments where we had Grey Worm, first of all, this dude, that just and look, I like what they did with him, where he got his land, they let him go. This is his arc. Is Game of Thrones storytelling. He's a guy that nobody probably likes. They're like, this guy, he should have got a spear in his ass. But you know what? That's not there's not always the kind of justice that we seek in life. So he got off in a way that probably it's phrasing right there. He got away with it in a way that people probably didn't like. This probably wasn't satisfying for them, but I think they appreciate that. But I thought that they actually had this the moment that I said maybe they'll be able to sum this up, because this is really good stuff. The moment that him and Jon Snow, you know, they had that bro off right there, you know, and everybody was kind of rooting for Jon Snow. And we knew that Grey Worm was going to execute these soldiers. But the moment that Jon Snow stepped in and tried to like actually get in the way, it's like, all right, these are these kind of conflicts that these mini conflicts that we love with Game of Thrones.
My one criticism about the Grey Worm thing is like not 2 episodes. This guy was ready to be like, F it, man. After we get to King's Landing, we're out of here. We're going to get, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm retiring. And he went from like being like a cop on his last week before retirement to being like a cop who's like Chuck Bronson in Death Wish,
Yeah.
right? Just like straight up vigilanteism, and he's just killing everybody.
Yeah,
So
'cause-
that was a little weird. But aside from that, I actually really dug all of it, man. I think basically, you know, when she comes out and the whole Tyrion scene, I mean, like there was actual suspense in a way that we haven't felt this entire season. I think that really set it apart.
Now, let me bring this up. I want to hear what you have to say, Robert, but I think it was Christopher Herman who made this point last week. He said that Grey Worm is going to disappear and just, you know, which he is. And he said that maybe his punishment is that he will not be happy. The whole time, this Negro did not smile. You know, he was like, he was not happy at all. Everything, he lost everything in life. So what I even think when he refused to have, you know, a territory, it was like, that's just not going to satisfy me. Do you think that he is okay? Because nobody got punishment in the way that he wanted it. Do you think that he's not happy? He's kind of miserable now.
So it's interesting because I think Chris Herman's theory would have been so much better than how it played out in the show's finale, right? I think Herman said something in the lines of, well, his whole thing was always about serving because that's pretty much all he's known, right?
Yeah.
And then the fact that he has no purpose because he has no one else to serve and he's kind of lost in figuring out who his identity truly is, that would have been something fascinating. But we end it here with him just being angry because, you know, Jon didn't die, and I'm just like, ooh, but that whole the whole thing with Grey Worm upsets me because I think his whole story arc was just very contradictory, right? It's like, here's a man who's been born in the slums, had a bad life. If anything, he should be the first person to realize, like, listen, I am for justice. And he was always about justice, right? In the earlier seasons with Dany and kind of agreeing with where she was at, but him just saying, oh yeah, kind of just screw this and hands up in the air, I don't like this. It just never, I just felt like it never made sense to his character.
I think it made sense for me because he was always about, maybe I don't, like I said, man, completely, this dude, I hate this guy. I don't know why so much. I mean, because
why? Like, I mean, he was following orders, and the only being that he loved in his life killed in front of his eyes.
I think because, you know, but see, that's what I appreciate. Like, I don't like him because my sense of justice is not like him. And he was a guy who had a sense of justice, but at that point, he was not even a human being to me. He was just a tool of Daenerys. But to see him go off like he did, like, I don't really like it. But I see now that this dude, he does have feelings. To see the love of his life gone, he did have plans to go off and, you know, bust out some kids or whatever. And it's like, now all that is gone. So all y'all, you know, I had this one chance to be happy. I ain't got no dick, you know. Does he?
Listen, I don't know, but hey, what I want to know is, so who's leading the Dothraki? I guess they're just kind of in the void somewhere.
They do
savages, and
man, they do their own thing.
Yeah.
We had made a joke earlier, like the what are they, the Dothraki? Or whatever?
Yeah.
Dothraki, like somebody said that they moved to the same island as the Unsullied, and I was like, well, shit, I guess we know who's the bottom over there because you ain't got no dick, you know. What you gonna do? Now, I will tell you this. Early on, there were some things that I did not like, and one of them, and they were small parts, and that's what made me say that this is about to turn to shit. I hung in there as long as I could. The way that we talked about Dany, just, you know, in midair, all of a sudden she joined the dark side in the Empire. Right? So she got her Darth Vader wardrobe. It's like, wow, so you changed wardrobes in midair. you found you actually found an S&M leather suit to put on. Yeah. And it's like, wow, that was heavy-handed, man. That was way too much. That truly was Star Wars at its worst.
And you remember her old outfits? They're always light colored.
Yeah, it was always white. So you mean to tell me now we crossing over into some true, like, simplistic amateur storytelling where when she was wearing white, that's when we thought she was good, and then in midair she turned evil, and all of a sudden she just went to all like black leather. Like, what?
You know she had that dress picked out for years, though, right, Corey?
Oh yeah, she said when I turned evil.
When I turn evil outfit.
You know,
Here it is.
That day may never come, but I'm gonna have it just in case. Which was too bad because right before that, they did some really great things with the suspense. John's long ass walk. I was like, that's a boy who's about to get a whooping from his mama. You know, when you get a call, your mom say, "Get home." I heard you did some shit at school. We need to talk. That was scary to me that he had to go up there, especially when he passed all the armies that looked at him and they said, everybody kind of knew that we can see look in your face. We know you don't like what's going on here. She might like your ass, but we don't. Do something. This whole thing with Tyrion, man. Thought that was great. With him just like, I don't give a anymore. I really don't. For him to look at her and do something that no one else would do, which is I would defy you not only by taking this pen off, but looking you straight at your face, thrown on the ground and saying, bitch. I thought that was...
in front of your army.
In front of your army, the thing that she does not want. I thought that was great. But that whole... Seriously, again, so we got a Star Wars thing going on, and now she's literally Hitler, giving her Hitler speech to everybody, with everybody pretty much doing the Heil Hitler by slamming their spear into the ground. Also with the dragon being her hype man, that this is where it started to go downhill for me because I was like, man, I'm enjoying all of this, but the storytelling here is really getting. I didn't want to do this with everybody, but it's getting terrible now. Really bad moments.
Now she's bad and she has all this army, so like you gotta fear from her, and like if you say something, that's gonna be your suicide. So think about it, just like okay.
I mean that was pretty much it. I mean, God, even saying it out loud is like, oh, here's all the emotions, and this is where I break down, and I'm like, how did it get so bad? Like that's like it was like
in a matter of minutes.
In a matter of minutes, and I'm sure you'll probably get into it about the whole Jon and Dany confrontation. But like, there's a moment in her speech in that moment where she's just like, "Oh, and I'm liberating all the slaves and the children," and just like Jon, I'm here looking at King's Landing. What are you talking about?
I guess
you burned the whole thing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're liberating children.
I guess when she says liberating, sending them to heaven or something like that, because nobody left.
Yeah, it was like there's nothing more to liberate. This is where it finally feels like it's rushed. It doesn't even feel rushed. It feels like, man, you know what? This is where I don't know George R.R. Martin. I haven't even read these books, but there's no way in hell that George R.R. Martin would say, and just to make the point in midair, she's all in black. And
again, I think there's just something I also want to make clear too, is that I don't have a problem with her becoming the Mad Queen. Hell, I probably predicted it at the beginning of the season, but the execution is just so left turn. It just doesn't make sense. So when you see it play out, that's why it feels so jarring for me anyway.
This is why all the good things was saying, this is why you need not even a full another season. You need 6 more episodes. This would not be, because this is lazy. This is not, we needed 6 more episodes to show why she is probably somebody that you need to go and even make some people feel conflicted about it. Not like all of a sudden she's wearing black. Get it, people? Ha ha.
It just seems really lazy and like they've never done right by her, least of all in this season.
It's too bad too, because there were some things in here that made me actually like some shots that I did not like before. Hearing Tyrion talk about how my sister was evil, and
my father
was evil. It really made me appreciate this shot a lot more, where he sees, look, I don't like the story arc with Jaime and Cersei. As far as the story arc that goes with that, I'm like, that I can do without it. But him looking at his sister and knowing how bad she is, and looking at his brother and realizing how his brother had potential, hearing him realize how, even though they probably needed to go, he still had feelings for them. That speech actually made that shot a lot better for me. I like that people are trying to predict what's going to happen. These leaks are the only thing that get things right. Everybody's trying to have these deeper predictions and making their own stories. I really loved it when Arya showed up, because everybody had this prediction that Arya was dead, because she should be, towers falling on her and everything. And then she finds a white horse. Everybody thought that was like a horse from heaven or something, which was ridiculous.
Like some symbolism, yeah.
I like that she lived. I like the character, but it did. I mean, I don't think the way they did it was right, but I really was scared for a moment that she would be, that maybe, some of the things here are so bad that maybe she would be the one to go and kill Daenerys. And I was glad that that did not happen, even though there were some things that did happen within that death that I did not like, even though it was obvious it was coming up. How'd you feel? And I like the way she just cleaned up. Last time she was caked in blood and shit and dust. This is just seconds after what happened, or a few minutes after what happened. Now she's like completely cleaned up now. Kind of a drastic change right there.
The horse licked her face.
Was that what it did? And by the way, where did the horse go?
I guess if she was imagining it, or maybe like after the trauma of everything.
I think the horse was real. If they did, they never explained it. But how did you feel about the character showing back up?
I mean, I was happy she didn't die, Like, I didn't want her to die like that.
I'll say this. Okay, she's going west to Westeros, right? Or what's more west than Westeros. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But you know who else I liked? I like Robb Stark, and he died. I would have preferred if Arya died. I thought the build-up that they were doing with Jon and Grey Worm doing this like face-off, I'm like, watch it build throughout the episode. Somehow we would actually see Arya's training come to fruition in this final episode, and Grey Worm would have figured out, oh, that's not an Unsullied. I don't know who that is. Kills Arya in the process. That makes Jon angry to kill Grey Worm, and then realizes, now I have to put out Dany. Right? It sounded so much better in my head, but
yeah, but
hey,
you need at least an episode for that.
No, for sure. And that's why.
Look, I'm glad she's alive, I guess. I mean, they made her really important this last season. I guess my issue is just that, like, and this has been the problem the last couple of years, there really isn't just consistency with her character. Like 2 episodes ago, she was like yelling at Jon for going south, like she needed Winterfell, our house, our family, and then she immediately left to King's Landing.
Yeah.
And so at the end of this, she's now immediately leaving again to some unknown part of the world. And it's also just a little weird because I guess you do want your stories to feel like, well, your characters keep going on, right? Like that is a beautiful way about ending shows. Life still goes on, so your characters don't stop living. But it felt like they were really setting up like the misadventures of Arya Stark, right? Like she's going to go off and discover new lands and shit.
I thought that hearing that Arya was going west of Westeros, I wonder if was Jon doing that with his people? He's like, there's no need for people at the wall anymore.
Yeah.
No more White Walkers. Why are we here? Why are we staying here?
We're not restricted anymore.
Nobody's coming here checking on us. Did you think that he got that idea to explore out of the wall and venture out of the wall was from Arya, his sister?
Yeah, I felt like it. I mean, she said it, and he was like, "Wow, it's a good idea."
After this moment, this is where I started to feel like things were rushed, and then that's where it started to get. That's where things started to get bad for me. I really do think that people are going to get criticized for criticizing because some people are going to deserve it. Some people are going to sit up here and they're going to talk about how this episode was not the episode that they imagined, how they're going to start petitioning. They're going to start demanding stupid shit like HBO go back and pull everybody back, get them out of jobs, out of other films, out of other projects, spend millions of dollars to shoot this thing over again. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You deserve to have your ass whooped if you say that. But, other people are just going to be whining. But I think it's okay for people to say, listen, this didn't make sense. If you enjoyed it, fine. But for me, I did not. It just felt like it was rushed. And when they felt like it was rushed, that turned into something that was actually written pretty badly. And I'm at that, and there was a point where it actually started to get to where it's like, okay, this is definitely not going to go to a good spot. And that was, and even though I love some parts with that, that's where I felt like you're pushing it. You're pushing it too much. You're speeding us along. When we had Jon and seeing Tyrion held captive, some really good lines in there. Tyrion talking about how I'll be turned to ash. My ash will meet Varys' ash, and then he'll say, "Hey, I told you so." It's something that we all felt, because we were saying at that moment. But at the time, maybe first of all, it was personal. Jon was getting on my nerves. I was like, Jon, shut the this whining. He was the role of the fans that I don't like, who were trying to justify everything that Daenerys did. And I was just like, at this point, you saw it. You've been going. What you're saying now contradicts every look of disgust that you had on your face earlier.
Yeah, I think they made him say all that because they didn't want him to look like he just accept. Oh, okay, I'll kill her then. You know,
Yeah.
like just like last fight to himself, kind of like
And I could see that.
We all know how blind sometimes John is to do the right thing, right? So like in the moment while I'm watching this scene play out, I'm like, sure, but you're right. You're absolutely right. There's that moment where we saw him in the last episode, like, whoa, like I can't defend this. So why are we now 2 hours later after you burn down King's Landing? You're like, no, we should just all serve Danny. It's like, no, you're lying to yourself, and we all see it a mile away.
If there was like him still saying she's your queen, she's my queen. It's like, nah, man. The moment you saw her doing this, you like, nah, this bitch is insane.
Yeah.
and I would even maybe if he just took that line out, maybe just if Tyrion had said, look, man, you know what you got to do, and John's like, fuck, I know. I don't know, but it just seemed it really did contradict everything that we saw him when he saw that. But again, now I can see it as a nitpick.
I know that seems like inconvenient. Like, John, you just witnessed this, but at the same time, John is Ned Stark's kid. Better for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? He was raised with that same kind of honor system, even if he's not really a Stark. And so I think like that conversation serves the purpose of like having to sever that last bit of resistance, that last bit of like honorable intention that Jon Snow has.
Yeah.
It doesn't bode well afterwards, but I think that's the purpose of that scene specifically.
And I could see that. I could see it. By the way, did anybody else think like the guard when he opened the door, he's like, I heard all that. He was out the whole time. Even though I thought they set up some things very well, I liked how what's his name, Drogon, he's out there like a bounce in front of the castle. He's like, hey, you cool, go on in.
Well, what a great shot, though.
But they had a, you know what? That's one of the things with these dragons, man. They get some majestic shots with them.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. This show is still a lot of brilliance that goes on here. You just can't write it off as, man, this show's shitty. There's a lot of things that still work here. It was great foreshadowing. It's almost like the one it showed why John was the only one that would probably be able to do this, because that dragon would burn anybody that came up there.
Yeah.
That dragon has learned. He's like, well, you mama, go ahead and come on in. You sleep with my mom. I guess you cool. He's the only one that could get close to her because of that dragon.
And he's also from the same family, so he's just
Targaryen.
like,
Yeah. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. The thing that I did not like this, and this is the moment that a lot of people predicted, so I don't think it was surprising. But even with us knowing, I think the foreshadowing with the heaviness of some shots was too much. It was such a long setup, that shot right there. And it's like, look, we know what's about to happen here. You really are, doing some heavy foreshadowing with a shot like that. There was no surprise there. I think for some of the people who probably didn't even read leaks, who probably thought that another thing was going to happen, even with this shot, they're like, okay, y'all having them on this embracing each other way too long. We know what's going to happen. And maybe, again, this is a nitpick, but she didn't feel him pulling that sword out at that moment.
Here's my problem with that scene, and this is what I wanted to say earlier. With Danny being evil. So there's a moment where John confronts her about like, yeah, listen, you're about this moral sense of justice, whatever it might be, according to you, but you did it at the expense of children and all these kids. And just like every casual Game of Thrones fans who clearly forgot about that, Danny didn't open her mouth because she had nothing to say, because it makes sense. She has nothing to say to that. And I think that's what's very infuriating for me. It's like, oh, remember back in season 4 when she locked 2 dragons away because she found out Drogon like burned one of them? Oh, I guess not. I guess we're just forgetting that, So I don't know. It was just very unnatural to me.
That was where I realized that Jon Snow going through this conflict and saying she's still my queen, that's when I realized when we had this scene here where he kills her, I said, man, this is where everything really does feel like it's moving way too fast. This is the moment where I said, yeah, now this is why people say we needed another season, even though I think we could have used like just 6 more episodes. Or I guess that's another season. Shit, 3 more episodes, would have probably done that, because John needed more time for inner conflict. We don't need him to just stroll right in after the battle and just stab her, because they could have set up a whole other season of Sansa getting together, and maybe they don't even go through with a battle. Maybe somebody talks sense before they all go to slaughter each other. But there was something that needed to be set up where these people, because Jon wouldn't have walked away from that easy. These people would have lost their goddamn minds the moment that they knew that Jon slaughtered her, or stabbed her. We needed a season of people saying, "What are we going to do with this girl?" We need a season of people getting ready for battle. We need a season where people are going to do a rebellion. Gendry could have done a rebellion like, what's his name, Baratheon?
Yeah, like Robert. Yeah, Robert's Rebellion.
Robert's Rebellion.
Wow, why did you just make it sound so much better in my head? Yeah, that would have been great, just to see how everyone would have reacted. Just like a quick, like, Sansa and Winterfell, someone in Dorne, right? Be like, hey, did you hear what she just did? Yeah, that's some crazy shit, right? Like, okay, yeah, let's do some plotting and scheming to take her out. But with the last episode, what could you have expected, right? So, yeah, you're right. Very rushed.
People were saying, man, I don't really see the difference. And, people just complain about George R. R. Martin just because y'all heard it straying away from the books. No, this is where you can actually tell. I haven't read these books. I used to hate the people that used to say, you haven't read the books, man. But you know what? Today, I say, you are right. And I haven't even read anything. You are correct.
To be honest, I laughed when they started kissing because the music swelled like a traditional, like Gone with the Wind Hollywood epic or whatever. and then very quickly he stabbed her and then the music cut out. And that was really funny to me. I don't think it was intentionally supposed to be funny. But I think the larger problem, like you said, is that all of it's rushed. But even that relationship, Dany and Jon, like they just met last season, and even then, I guess they went through some shit together. But it never felt like you remember after the same amount of episodes where Jon was with Ygritte, right? Like you felt that relationship. You understood that those two like really loved each other. I've never really felt that with Dany and Jon. They probably could have achieved that with more episodes, but also I think you could have had a whole like back half of the season where Dany's won. And you just get to see more of her brutality, like in case Jon needed more convincing, right? It's the fact that literally 2 scenes after she burns everything, she is killed and dispatched from the story, and it just feels like a giant shrug. You know what I mean? He doesn't do anything.
You ain't just walking out and people like, oh shit, this dude just stabbed her. There are heavy repercussions. People would be going crazy again. People would not. You had to see a bigger reaction to something like that, and you didn't get it. And what's terrible about it is that, and we're going to talk about something in between, but it cuts from her being killed to all of a sudden, well, let's just have a meeting.
No, it was like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
What?
To me, did it not seem weird? And maybe this is why I want people to explain to me what's happening here, because it seemed weird to me that Drogon, when he looked at Jon like, man, you just killed my mama. I don't care what blood you have. But is that why he didn't? First of all, let me just say, I love that this is the first time that these dragons have had character. I actually felt for that. I actually felt for, like last week I said, oh no, he's got to go. Kill him. But I just realized, oh man, he's just an animal that's just kind of just doing whatever
like
his
a
mom.
dog, right?
Yeah, he's just doing whatever his mom. It's like when you put down a pit bull and it's like, man, you kill somebody, but you were just doing what somebody told you to do. That's the first time I felt for him, man. When he cried to the sky, I was like, wow. Ooh, now that's emotion. That's the first time they've actually made those dragons real characters.
Yeah. And I like the scene that he melted the Iron Throne.
But why did he melt the throne?
I felt like it's just everything is for this throne, and like she died for this throne.
But why did he know?
But what you're saying is he's mad at a chair. Like that's where that happens, right?
Yeah.
The dragon is mad at a piece of furniture, Mia.
I mean, he doesn't know. It's just to show us, I guess. I don't know.
It's like, because I could get it if he hit through the whole season, he'd been saying it, like he'd been like say, hey mama, look, this is sonny, like we got to figure this out. I really don't like doing this. But he's an animal. How do he know to look at that chair and be like,
listen, this is what the casual Game of Thrones fans are going to say, because they've said earlier that some of these dragons are just as smart, if not smarter than humans. And I also predict that Drogon just knew that was the exact Iron Throne chair that Dany was going after.
I do like at the moment where he saw that his mother was dead. Because I can go in. I think, again, a problem with this is that we don't get any explanation. How the know he's that smart? This is the first time he's actually ever come out and even shown any kind of intelligence. But I do like it that if it worked out better, I could have felt like within the story, he's like, listen, I was doing what my mother told me to do. You know, I'm a smarter creature, but this throne is a thing that actually got my mother killed. God damn this throne. You know, it's caused so much trouble and it killed my mama. You know what? If she can't have it, nobody's going to have it. It's just more trouble than it's worth. My problem is there was no indication of that dragon being enough of a character to really do that.
I would have loved to have seen just some closure with him and Jon because they just showed so much, or they had to force that nail in our head, right? That, hey, y'all, Jon's a Targaryen.
And
I'm not gonna kill him.
And is that the thing? Is that why he didn't kill Jon? Because Jon is a Targaryen that has Targaryen blood, and he just kind of, because he looked at him and he was just kind of like, because he really did look at him and just like, I want to burn your ass so bad right now, but I can't do it. And it's almost like he's like, it's almost like the dragon was smarter than everybody. It's kind of like, it ain't gonna do any good. I'm tired. I'm just tired of killing. I mean, I just cooked the whole city. I burned kids. I'm done, man. There are certain things. That's what I'm talking about this whole episode. There are things that, if you just go like to certain points, these are good. These resolutions are cool. There's some good ideas here. Just fill in the goddamn gaps. That's all I'm asking.
Wouldn't it be funny, like he would burn Dany's body and take Jon Snow on his back as like, now I serve you. That stupid ass bitch made me burn all that
shit. At that point, you might as well have the dragon just take a knee.
No, well, again, if the dragon has
Jon?
voiceover, then that would have been a way better ending. If he finally is like, I've been serving this bitch for years, and I've hated every second of it.
Yeah. You know, if he was like a Nazi too, you know, I was just following orders, man. I have to say here, first of all, let's talk about what everybody is going to be talking about tomorrow and hating, and that is Bran being the king. I read this and look, y'all, I didn't flip over a table. I'm not complaining. I'm not even mad about the idea of Bran being the king of all these realms. I saw that and I said, I don't know how the hell they're going to do this. And, you know, and just, you know, one episode. But I always thought, and you and I talked about this. My wife and I said, it's not a bad idea. Everybody who wants that throne either just doesn't want it. You know, they flat out and just saying, man, I'm just tired. I don't want this shit.
Or they have their egos or emotions. And
they're petty. Yeah,
power thirst and everything.
Yeah. Now, Bron said he didn't want. He you know, they alluded that he didn't want it, but of course, when they said, "Do you take this?" He's like, "Yeah, I want that shit." You know, he's like, I was just waiting on y'all to say something. My problem is with this in the execution of it. First of all, Bron ain't done a goddamn thing through this whole series, but just sit back and do heroin. You know, and eyes rolling in the back of his head and shit. And it's just kind of like, okay, so you mean the dude that we know absolutely nothing about? He even told people like, man, you know what? Just don't worry about me. I'm practically a piece of furniture now. I'm not even human. I'm just gonna sit back.
Hey, but you say that, but even White Walkers were after him.
But this is where it's bad. I've been patient. I tried. I said, man, some people don't like this, but this is shitty. This dude right here becoming king, and y'all haven't done shit with him for several episodes, and all of a sudden, he's Bron the Broken. I'm like, your story is broken. Yeah. You might as well, your storytelling's broken. You mean to tell me out of nowhere, this guy is worthy? I see how he is worthy. The way you did it is shitty. You write your shit. You just don't have somebody come up and this is where I get pissed off at this. This whole thing played out like a sitcom. And the reason why I said that is because in sitcoms, what people do is they just give a motivational speech and everybody says, okay. And then it's done. They have 30 minutes to get shit done in a sitcom or a show, mainly a sitcom. And the way they do it is to give exposition. This motherfucker Tyrion just gave a soliloquy, and all of a sudden everybody says, okay, and that's it.
Yeah, he said, like, I had weeks to think about. And just like, he just sit down and think, who would be a good king?
You actually, yes. You mean to tell me you actually cross-dissolve to get rid of, or you fade out, fade back in, so that you could get rid of all the work you would have to do to flesh out all this storytelling? You. I mean, I'm being serious. I'm not mad like all these other people, but I mean, come on, man. Don't y'all get mad at people who say something about this if they can back it up, and I'm backing up my point right now. They did this all in verbal exposition when they should have been telling the story through 3 or 4 or 5 might even go for 6 more episodes, at next November or something. But the way they did it right now, nah, man, that is lazy. That is the thing that's going to make people say, yeah, they were tired of this shit. That's why they leave goddamn coffee cups on the set, because they don't even want to be there. And I defended them. And right now I see that's like, nah, y'all short timers. Y'all want to get on some Star Wars shit. I know what y'all doing. We should have found out after a crisis. Jon kills Daenerys. People are angry. People are about to go to war again. People are gathered for a rebellion. We should have figured out how these alliances came together, how these people right here got together. You mean to tell me you do a fade out, fade back in, all these people just sitting together, and we don't even know how they got together? Sam left. We thought he was gone. All of a sudden, he's just sitting there. No explanation why he's there. No real backstory why we have all these people.
All of them.
All of them.
Why were all of them there? Precisely 3 weeks after Jon killing Dany, and then they now decide to figure out 3 weeks later who should rule the Seven Kingdoms, which is so baffling because we just saw Drogon, literally the scene before, burn it down. Dany's philosophy of burning breaking the wheel or philosophy of what they were doing so they can start anew. So that's why when Sam suggested, hey, y'all, let's just start a democracy, I thought they were going to say, hey, you know what? That's different, but let's go ahead and do it. No, let's laugh it off and go back to the old ways. And I'm like, okay, this is bad.
No, it's terrible. As Christian was saying, it's lazy writing. And it was lazy when they had this chick come out. And that's what I'm talking about. I even tried to give it a chance there, but I said, this is where the writing's going to go down. Because it was lazy the moment she put on that Hellraiser suit. That is... When you get that visually lazy with something, that's when I know you're gonna start telling your story in shorthand, and that's exactly what they did, man. And I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible for the potential that this episode had. You needed everybody said you're not gonna do this shit in one episode, and I'd be goddamn they didn't do it. And on top of that, you didn't look. If you can't get your writing together and you do something as lazy as you're doing, don't come in here with no comic relief. Don't make me laugh after I'm sitting up here being mad at everything you're doing. What's his name, dude, right here?
Edmure Tully, something like that. Yeah, I think
Tully.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The uncle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm just kind of like, now you want to go for the shits and giggles. No, don't do that. How about write your story before you start making this a true sitcom, which is what it turned.
Right. Again, just let's keep in mind, not 3 weeks ago, the kingdom was destroyed and thousands of people were murdered, including children. But this is a perfect time for levity. Let's make the jokes.
Oh, yeah. And it wouldn't be, look, I wouldn't even mind it if it fit the show, but we went for goddamn physical comedy. Like him turn around in his chair, his sword in the chair, like, oh, sorry. Come on, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Who's the goddamn schizophrenic person writing this show right now? Who you did? I mean, this is like did James McAvoy from Split write this shit? This does not have the same. Y'all can't keep the same tone in one episode because you're trying to cram too much together. I want to while Carlos gets up here because we about to go nuclear now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's been back there holding back tears, but I'm
scared of him.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, the passion fruit back there. How you feeling about things? I actually told you some of the stuff that's going to happen. And one of the things I appreciate about you, Carlos, is that when I told you that, you didn't lose your mind like I thought you were.
Because I thought it was so stupid it won't happen, but it did. So,
but you know what? At the point, you act like you were going to give it a chance. You're like, hey, you know something? I can see maybe how this could work. I hope it does.
I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings right here because I hear you all talk about this, man, and it's like every single point that I bringing every single time that come up, it's like, man, this is getting worse. I can see it. It's all slowly but surely boiling. It's not gonna fucking make it, and it blew it. It blew it at the very end so epically. This by far might be my worst of episodes of any series. Like, it took so much that I love and just didn't care. It didn't care. It got to a point that I was so emotional. I was angry. I saw you. I looked at you. You looked at me, and we both locked eyes, just mad. We were mad, and all of a sudden, then I went, laughed, came back, and I'm like, it is what it is. Y'all told me this. It is what it is. Enjoy it for what it is. I'm going to just repeat that. I'm going to go insane with that phrase. It is what it is.
Once again, if you've enjoyed these discussions and recaps, go watch the other episodes that we've done for Season 8 on our YouTube channel. Shorter, a little bit more edited. And if you really love what we do, go check out our site, doubletoasted.com. Over there, you'll find the long-form version of this video, along with the live streams that we do almost every night of the week. Support us at dtmerch.com. And remember to always stay toasty.